Hello and welcome at the new video. And look at this beautiful car we have today. It is driver's SUV Mazda CX-60. So let's go for a little walk around. So this is the top of the range 3.3 liter diesel with four-wheel drive. So we have this typical front face of the Mazda CX-60, a very small minimalistic LED lights with this LED stripe as a part of them. We have an air curtain on both sides for aero efficient, which is this car only has a drag coefficient of 0.29, which is absolutely amazing. And then there's this nice big mouth of Mazda, and the car actually looks very nice from the front. Maybe apart from this side, this part which is looks sort of angry. But anyway, let's go for the wheels. So we have here, what are these? These are 20-inch wheels with the tires 235 50 R20. So the car weighs 2012 kilos, which is quite heavy, 2 tons. And I've seen lighter cars having wider tires, but Mazda, of course, they must have been thinking about the lightness, the unsprung weight also. So that's why we have 235 tires here. And we have black wheels here, so yeah, it looks quite nice. And then here we have the inline 6 badging, which is very cool. It just shows you what's under the bonnet. A proper 6-cylinder diesel. So the wheelbase of the car is 2.87 meter, which is very long. It gives you very good stability and of course space for the legroom in the back. Now coming around to the back, the rear part of the car is another very good looking part of the car. The whole car is just beautiful, this Mazda CX-60. So we have these flat lights going around the corner, in the badging with the Skyactiv D, and the all-wheel drive, which I only noticed after I did the driving part of this review. And now let's open the boot, which is of course electrically controlled, and we have 477 liters it should be. And it actually looks, when you look into the boot, it actually looks slightly more than that, I have to say. So yeah, we also have an underfloor storage, if I can open it somehow. And we have a subwoofer there. So yeah, it's typical Mazda, also my car has it. And in terms of practicality, we have a 12-volt socket here. We have these hooks for putting the seats down, and we have some netting here on the side, and a strong LED light. And also this cover is just it looks like a piece of art. Let me show you. Look at that, just absolutely beautiful. And also this part of it here, it just looks quality, and it has this premium touch to it, which is very nice. You can also lock the car from the boot, so you just press this and then press this, and the car locks itself after it closes the boot. So that's a very cool function, I have to say. Now let's unlock it again and go check the rear seats. By the way, here is the fuel tank, of course, and I just wanted to say that the fuel tank is 58 liters of capacity, which is very decent, being a diesel. So let's get inside. So this is 1.9 meter tall human in a 2.87 meter wheelbase Mazda, and the spaciousness is very good. I mean, I have just about the right space for my knees, very good space for my feet, even though the seat is in its lowest position, and on your head again just enough. It's also very elegant in here and very practical. I have heated seats here, ventilation, 2 USB-C connectors, and also a typical 220 volt home socket here, which is really great. And then I have these LED lights here in the roof, and you turn them on with the button next to them. So that's very cool that you don't have it like somewhere in the middle, but here on the part. So yeah, and also a huge door beam for the bottle, which is cool. The opening is somewhat narrow for someone. There might be a little critique to it, particularly in this part. Yeah, but the door, they open almost up to 90 degrees, so it's easy to get some things in there. So well, the interior is an absolute beauty, as you might be able to see. But more to that when we're gonna start the driving video. But let's now have a look at the absolutely perfect thing about the car, which is the engine. So the engine in this car is, when you open it, is a masterpiece. In this day and age, because really it's not normal in nowadays to have this sort of engine. So let me unlock it. You have this very big plastic beauty cover on it. So let me unlock it to you. And you also have this sort of thing, and you can hook it up here so that it doesn't fall down. And then you can have a look at this mesmerizing piece of an engineering, a 3.3 liter inline 6 diesel. So what I want to show you is that this engine lies mostly behind the front axle. So that's very good for the weight distribution reasons. The car has a perfect 50-50 weight distribution, as it should be. So yeah, the engine itself develops 254 horsepower and 500 and I think it was 50 Newton meters of torque, if I'm correct. Yeah, 550 Newton meters of torque, available up to 2,400 RPM. So that's very cool, and it's, I think, one of the most thermally efficient diesel engines, having the efficiency of 40%, which is really high. And it's mated to an 8-speed automatic gearbox, which is just great. And it should be having the fuel consumption of 5.3 liters. Of course, now it's winter, we have winter tires, cold weather, so it is slightly taller, but it's still absolutely amazing for a 2-ton car that it is. So yeah, let me just put it back as it should be, and after that, yeah, let's close it. Wow, so amazing car. Let's start and let's drive it down the road and let's see how it is, because let me tell you, this is a great driver's car. So one other thing I have to show you and tell you is why this car is such a good driver's SUV, and it's all down to the suspension and the kinematics and the geometry of the wheels. So we have a double wishbone front suspension here, and in the rear we have a multi-link independent setup, and the geometry of the wheels is such that we have a very slight negative camber here on the front wheels, which helps you for the turning, and it's nice on the steering. And I want to have a look again a little bit, and we also have a slight caster geometry, positive caster geometry here on the front, which then gives you a very nice feel from the road, and a slightly stiffer steering. So that's the front suspension. And here on the rear, which is it's sort of different than I would have expected, because yeah, the car has a slightly negative camber, but mostly it looks like almost flat. And then we have a slight toe out of the wheel, and this is very good for of course the cornering. But if it would have been a sports car, it would have its disadvantages in the straight line speed and acceleration. But for the cornering and managing all this mass, 2 tons, this is a really good setup, and it's part of why this car is so good in the corners, despite being a huge, heavy SUV. So hello and welcome in the MAZDA CX-60, a really great car I have to tell you about. So let's first talk about the interior, which absolutely feels premium. It is a great, beautiful, functional interior. It's just a fantastic place to spend time on your travels. You have nice leather everywhere you touch. Also on the dash, throughout the dash, that's a really nice touch. Nice soft material, soft plastic, some chrome. I don't know if it's look-alike or real chrome, but it looks really nice and fancy. And the layout of the interior is just perfect. So you have a kind of a thin steering wheel, very nice to hold. Here you have knobs for navigating through the infotainment screen. Here you have the dial or the knob to change the driving modes. It's just a beautiful place. Let me start the car and let's listen to the 6-cylinder maybe. Oh yeah, so this is the sound of the 6-cylinder diesel we have here. It's this fantastic engine that you all know. It's a 3.3 liter diesel from Mazda, producing around 254 horsepower, mated to an 8-speed automatic gearbox and sending its power and Newton meters to the rear wheels. So a real driver's combination, front engine, longitudinally mounted, and a rear wheel drive. So yeah, great. I mean, amazing. And the car actually is now with use. Let me just turn off the lane assist, which I always have to turn off, and this is a quite well, maybe slightly annoying process, because you have to go into the safety settings, then avoiding collision, and here you have to find it with the knob. But the fact that you have a rotating knob helps you a bit. So yeah, bloody politicians, right? All right, now let me just go into the monitoring of the fuel consumption. Here I can see how the powertrain is working. This is the mild hybrid, of course. We're in 2023, so we are charging a small battery at times and recovering energy into it. And an interesting thing that this car has in its iStop, I don't actually turn it off because it's working quite nicely, because it is actually turning off the engine when you don't need it to work. So when you're going, for example, down the hill, or yeah, mostly like down the hill, or even when coming to the lights, other cars are just turning off the engine when they stop at the lights. But this engine, like 500 meters before the lights, when you lift off the throttle, it just turns off the engine. So it actually works like really nicely, and it helps the fuel consumption massively. Although you don't need it, because this engine is so efficient. I'm now on my way. I've been doing the motorway. I did it for 6.5 liter with a 2-ton car at 130 kilometers per hour. This is a 2-ton car, like 2000 something. Let me check in this technical thing. Yeah, 2012 kilos. The size of like an older BMW X5. And the drag coefficient is amazing, only 0.29 for this big of a car. That's absolutely incredible. And all this together, also another thing, 8-speed gearbox, all this makes incredibly great fuel consumption. 6.3 liter, I mean, you're in a 2-ton bloody car. That's absolutely amazing. And on the B roads you can do even less. You can do like, I didn't really test it out on the B road, but you can do like 5.6 liters, even 5.3 is possible. That's great. And even in the city, wow. And the engine is so smooth, and when you accelerate, it has this nice growling 6-cylinder diesel sound. It's a nice growl, like a tiger. I mean, it's just a beautiful car to drive. And then there's the suspension. Well, unlike some other maybe premium cars, it is not adaptive suspension. You have coil springs, a normal setup, but the way Mazda always handles the setup of the coil spring is just fantastic, and they've done an amazing job this time again, because not only do you have 50-50, exactly 50-50 weight distribution, which is thanks to the layout of the powertrain, but still you have this amazing feeling of the car leaning on the outside rear wheel when you're going throughout the corners. So it's not leaning on the front, it's leaning on the rear wheel, which is a very nice and predictable balance throughout the corner. Also on the bumps and angulations, this car, it doesn't bounce, it just feels it's going flat through them. Maybe if it's a really big angulation, you can feel that it's slightly like on the rear sort of has this minor little bump to it, but it's just beautifully executed the way it drives. And wow, it's beautiful. And I have to say, those who watch my channel know that I'm not the biggest fan of SUVs, but I have to say this is really a driver's SUV. I went for a drive on a mountain road. There's going to be a separate video to it, because the engine actually wrote me on the display that there need to be the regeneration of the filter. So I went there, I pushed it, and what I found out was that, wow, Mazda really made a driver's SUV. This car is 2-ton, big high riding SUV, but it's just so nice to drive. Wow, it was beautiful. It's just the steering, it's so communicative, it's so precise, it's really beautiful. The weight distribution, also the fact that you have the engine mounted behind, my engine and gearbox mounted behind the front axle. It's just it was just amazing. I mean, still, you can feel the weight is there when you have sharp turns and change of directions, sudden change of directions. You can feel that, yeah. There is this slight of a hill when you're changing the weight. You can feel that, but the car and the suspension is just so communicative that you know how to control it. It's just beautiful. And then you have a rear wheel drive, so when you're going out of the corner, you can even slide it a little bit. I mean, it's just a fantastic driver's experience, which is absolutely amazing. And then the car day to day is extremely quiet. I did my usual noise test. It was at 130 on my noisy bit of motorway. It was at 58 decibels only, which is amazingly quiet, right? And wow, it's just a pleasure. Actually, it's just a pleasure driving this car. I mean, it's the way, when you even look at the car, the philosophy of the car, the design of the car, and the philosophy of the layout, it already tells you that this car was thought through for the driver. The design, I let everyone to decide. I think it's a reasonably very good looking car, actually. I had many people turning heads on this car, so yeah. Wow, I mean, the driving experience is just special. I mean, for an SUV, this is really surprising. So now, as you can see, the iStop is working, and we were only braking down behind this truck, and it just turned off the engine because it thought, well, I don't need it. I don't need it to work. And then you have 3 modes. So we have now in normal mode, which is where this works. You can then put it with this My Drive button or the switch. You can put it into sports mode, which of course sharpens the accelerator and gives you all the power of the engine. And actually, in the sports mode, I have to say the paddles, they work reasonably well. I mean, they are the normal plastic paddles, small paddles behind the steering wheel, on the steering wheel, but their response is very good. So yeah. And then the third mode you have here, which I didn't use yet, is an off-road mode, which is interesting, being a two-wheel drive car, being a rear-wheel drive car. But what I thought about it is that maybe this off-road mode is for something like a slippery surface when there is a snowy road, which has not yet been cleared. So you can put it into this mode, and then the stability system just manages it beautifully. And then even the stability system, I mean, you can turn the TCS off, so the traction system off, but the ESP seems to be always turned on, because I was even holding the button, I couldn't turn it off. So the ESP is like always on, but I mean, it's not that necessary, but it helps you. It helps you to go more controlled, more on the limit with the car if you really want to. So it's set up in such a way that it evolves the driving experience into even better. The cornering of the car and so that's really good. While we are here on the straight, we can try some little acceleration here. So we're at 100. and at 140 there. So the response time of the gearbox really great, and immediately it goes. And now it put it into the I-stop, so you turn the engine off while we're going down the hill. So we're gliding now, saving fuel. That's cool. I mean, this is actually what I kind of like about it, because I'm an interested person in the fuel consumption as well as the driving dynamics, and I think this is kind of cool. And now the engine is turned on again, so that's very cool. But man, the way this car drives, they really made a driving SUV. I mean, there's really not a lot of these driving SUVs at the market. I mean, if you think about it, you have this, you have well, we can say BMW. They have also 50-50 weight distribution, even though I'm not the biggest BMW fan. And you have a Jaguar, those are very good. You have Alfa Romeo, that's an amazing SUV as well, the Stelvio. And well, do you have anything else like a really driver focused car? Well, then maybe some could say the AMGs, but well, but those are the sports variant. But I mean the normal car with the driver focus. So probably these 4 or 5 cars, and yeah, I mean, it just makes you feel very special having a car like this that's driver focused, that you actually enjoy driving. That's what I like about it. I actually enjoy. I mean, usually when I test the SUVs, I'm like, okay, just like a normal car. I mean, nothing special. But this is actually bloody nice, and this thing having a 6-cylinder engine here, it's something special. And the fact that Mazda did it in the brink of the time where everybody is hating particularly diesels and big engines, and everybody wants to go electric, or the politicians want us to go electric. I mean, it's just incredible. So they made this 6-cylinder engine going into the Euro 7 regulations, and like, we're going in with a 6-cylinder engine. I mean, that's absolutely amazing. So that to the car. I will shortly come to the likes and dislikes of the car, but I can't help but I have to say another thing. So I just got the information that the Mazda 6, the sedan version of not this car, but the size of this car, is no longer gonna be sold even in the Europe, and that makes me really sad, because it would have been an amazing car, and I think people would buy it if it had this concept of the 6-cylinder diesel in the front and the rear-wheel drive sedan. It would compete with the likes of BMW 5 Series. So I mean, I'm really sad about it, and even more being a Mazda 6 owner. It's a really driver's saloon. I really like it, and yeah, it's really sad. I mean, they had the working prototypes already of this car, but probably they thought, well, people are no longer buying it as much as in the past. They mostly want something like this, an SUV, and probably they decided to let it go, and that makes me extremely sad, yeah. So yeah, now let's come to the likes and dislikes of the car. So if I have to start with dislikes, it's a tough one, really. That's really a tough one, because apart from the way I have to turn off the lane assist, I would like to be able to turn it off with this button, which is saying like some assistance off. I don't know which actually turns off. I try to press it, but it doesn't turn the lane assist off, and I would like to be able to turn it off through here. That would be beautiful. But other than that, man, it's really tough, because I don't see many bad points about this car, really, to be honest. I mean, everything is just, you feel that everything was extremely well thought through, and everybody in Mazda, the engineers, thought about every detail in the car, even this hardware part of the air conditioning. You have buttons everywhere. It's just so great, and then the layout here, and even the design. the way they incorporated the wireless charging here, the amount of storage in the car. Wow, I mean, the space in the back is really good, the boot is large enough, and to the driving part, I really don't have much to say. Maybe the only thing I could say is that thing that it's sort of has this mini bounce at the rear. I don't know why it's folding up. So what maybe they could improve is just to give it this 1.5% more stiffness in the rear springs, so that at some bigger like angulations it wouldn't do this. So it would feel completely balanced. So that would be the only maybe thing I would improve. And then the likes, well, it's like, you know, it's like a countless. Well, the driving experience is the biggest thing. Beautiful, smooth, precise steering with great deal of information coming back to me as a driver. Even the seating position, being an SUV, is great, and a premium touch on the steering. You have it, you can set it up electrically, not manually. And yeah, so this is great. I love the interior, I love the way it looks, I love the way it's put together. Nothing squeaks on plastic or stuff like this. It's just beautiful. The leather is beautiful. You have ventilated seats here, loads of space in the back. The interior is really nice to sit in. And then there is the engine. Well, not the most powerful 6-cylinder diesel, and because of the weight of the 2-ton, these 2 tons, they sort of break it, so it's not as dynamic as it would have been otherwise if the car was lighter. But for the car, it's enough. You have plenty of power in every occasion. You have this growl of a 6-cylinder diesel, you have this light-leggedness of a 6-cylinder car. This car changes gears, the gearbox changes gears under 1500 RPM. It's absolutely amazing, under 1500 RPM. So yeah, it's a lovely thing having a 6-cylinder car, really. Yeah, so that would be another thing. Then another thing is that it's a driver's layout, front engine, rear wheel drive, really great. And I think then, to finish it off, the best part is the price. I think if I was configuring this one, it was around like 63,000 euros in the configurator. And I mean, that's just if you compare it to the other cars, to the BMW, even to the Alfa Romeo. I mean, it's not far off them, but it's still lower. It's still lower than them, than the Jaguar or the Alfa. So I mean, a really good price, really sort of an affordable driver's car. And all this together, for me, just makes it a fantastic car. Wow. So these cars, these SUVs, these 4 I told, are very special, and Mazda is for sure one of them. And if you're looking for a car of this size, you should definitely test it out, because it's just great. And then decide for yourself. So yeah, I think that would be it to the Mazda CX-60 6-cylinder diesel review. And of course, more videos are coming on very soon, and I hope to see you in the very next time. In the meantime, take care and goodbye.